You are 29 years old. It's a Tuesday night, and you're sitting on a secondhand couch in an apartment you share with two roommates. There's a beer in your hand. There's music coming from somewhere down the street. Your phone has 17 unread emails, none of which you've opened, because none of them feel urgent. You are, by every traditional measure, broke. Your savings account has $340 in it. You have no investments, no retirement account, no real plan. And here's the thing, you did this on purpose. For the last 8 years, every time someone told you to save more, invest earlier, think about the future, you made a choice, a quiet, deliberate choice. Not yet. This is the story of that choice, what it cost you, what it gave you, and the one number that will follow you for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. You grew up in a house where money was either fine or it wasn't, and nobody really talked about which. Your parents paid the bills, the lights stayed on, there was food, but nobody sat you down and explained compound interest. Nobody opened a custodial brokerage account in your name. Nobody said, here's how this actually works. So when you graduate at 22 and land your first real job, $38,000 a year, which feels like an enormous amount of money, you do what feels natural. You live. You move to a city you actually want to be in. You go out on weekends. You say yes to the road trip, the concert, the last-minute flight that's somehow only $180. You eat at a place that's a little too expensive and you don't feel that bad about it. Your coworker mentions a Roth IRA in the break room once. You nod like you know what that is. You do not open one. Life is good, not rich good, but good, present, warm, real. And every month, the future stays exactly where you put it, later. Here is where it gets interesting. Because you aren't making one big mistake, you're making 100 small ones, each of which, standing alone, looks completely reasonable. At 22, you don't contribute to your company's 401k. Your employer matches up to 4%. You leave that on the table because you need the take-home pay. Reasonable. At 23, you get a raise to $44,000. You upgrade your apartment. It's nicer. You deserve it. The lifestyle expands to fill the income. Completely normal. At 24, you have about $900 saved when your car breaks down. It costs $1,100. You put $200 on a credit card. You tell yourself you'll pay it off next month. You don't. At 25, a friend starts talking about index funds. You listen. You actually look it up that night. You even get as far as the account creation page on Vanguard. Then your phone buzzes. Then something else happens. The tab stays open for 3 days, and then you close it. At 26, you're making $52,000. You feel like you should be further along. You're not sure further along means what or where. You buy a course on investing, you don't finish it. At 27, you travel, a lot. Southeast Asia for 3 weeks, a wedding in Portugal, a long weekend in New York that costs more than it should. These are not regrets. These are your life. You were there. You remember every single one. At 28, a coworker your age mentions offhand that she has $40,000 in her retirement account. You go quiet. You do the math on your own, later, alone. You have $340 and a credit card balance of $1,800. The gap between you two isn't income. You've earned roughly the same amount. The gap is a series of quiet choices made one at a time across 8 years. And now you are 29 years old, on a secondhand couch, and the future starts to feel less abstract. Here is the part nobody told you. If you had invested just $200 a month starting at 22, $200 less than most people spend on restaurants, and earned an average 8% annual return, by the time you're 65, you would have $702,000. $700,000 from $200 a month. But you didn't start at 22. You're starting at 30. Same $200 a month, same 8% return, same discipline from here on out. By 65, you'll have $351,000. The difference between starting at 22 and starting at 30, just those 8 years, is $351,000. You didn't spend $351,000 in your 20s. You spent maybe $30,000 extra, if that, on all the trips and nights out and upgraded apartments combined. The other $321,000 isn't money you spent. It's money that never got the chance to grow. That is what compound interest actually means. Not a math concept, not a personal finance talking point. It means that time is the ingredient that cannot be replaced, bought back, or negotiated with. And you just spent 8 years of it. Let that sit for a second. But here's what the spreadsheet doesn't show. You know who you are. You spent 8 years learning what you actually value, what drains you, what lights you up. You built friendships that required showing up, in cities, at tables, on dance floors, in hard moments that only happened because you were present and broke and available. You took risks you couldn't afford. Some of them paid off. A career pivot at 25 that only worked because you had nothing to protect. A relationship that started on a trip you almost didn't take. A skill you developed, not because it was strategic, but because you had the energy and the freedom to obsess over something. You are not behind the person who spent their 20s optimizing. You are just on a different path. The question, the only question that actually matters now, is what you do next, because here is the truth that the personal finance world undersells. Starting at 30 is not a tragedy. $200 becoming $351,000 is still $351,000. And you're not the same person you were at 22. You're more focused, more intentional, less likely to blow the money on things that don't matter because you already figured out what does. The worst version of the story is the person who spends their 20s broke by choice, realizes it at 29, feels terrible, and then does nothing. That is the only actual mistake. So here's what you do. First, you open the retirement account. Tonight, not after the video, not this weekend. You go to Fidelity or Vanguard or your employer's 401k portal and you start. Even $50 a month, the amount is less important than the account existing. Second, you stop leaving free money on the table. If your employer matches your 401k contributions, that match is a 50% or 100% instant return on your money. There is no investment on earth that beats it. Contribute at least enough to get the full match. Every month you don't is a pay cut you're giving yourself. Third, you automate it. The reason your coworker has $40,000 and you have $340 isn't intelligence or income. It's automation. She set it up once and forgot about it. The money moved before she could spend it. You do the same. Fourth, you stop doing the math on the past. The $351,000 gap is real, but it is not useful to you now. What's useful is the next 35 years. That math still works in your favor. Run that calculation instead. You are 29. Statistically, you have more earning years ahead of you than behind you. The couch is fine. The beer is fine. The 340 is fine. What happens next is up to you. You spend your 20s broke by choice. You chose presence over planning, experience over optimization, now over later. There is no villain in the story, but there is a cost, and you now know exactly what it is. The question was never whether to enjoy your life. It was whether you could do both. Turns out you can. You just have to start. This was your life so far as the person who spent their 20s broke by choice. Next time, you inherited $500,000 at 30. You had every advantage. Here's what went wrong. Subscribe. You won't want to miss that one.